Video games are the largest entertainment industry in the world, surpassing movies and even music. Since its inception in the 1970s, the games industry has boomed, with literal generations experiencing the phenomenon that is video gaming. It is now, without a doubt, the preferred method of entertainment the world over. Now, in 2025, 55 years later, gaming is ingrained culturally, with many devoting the entirety of their leisure hours to experiencing these works of interactive art. The reason for me making this video is that I turned 30 just this year, and as a result the algorithm gods deigned to try a new kind of content on me. In particular, I noticed an uptick in videos complaining about themes such as, "I just don't have enough time to game anymore," or that, "My responsibilities make me feel guilty for gaming." One kind of title I see popping up more and more often is, "How to Game After 30.
You serious?
Surely you're kidding, right? What's to know? You've been doing it your entire life. Boot up the console, select the game, and play. Right? These videos kind of pestered my brain as I wondered how these people had no time to game at all. A lot of these videos seem to think this is a complex issue and posit that millennial gamers, and gamers in general I would say, simply do not have the time to engage in the leisure activity of playing a video game without guilt, unless they're a child or teenaged. That some sort of massive compromise between your responsibilities and your leisure needs to be made in order to rationalize the time expense of just sitting down and enjoying some gaming. I definitely don't want to diminish the many realities that inhibit the enjoyment of video games in and around your responsibilities. As a 30-year-old man with a career, a family, and now content creation in the mix, I am increasingly aware that time is a valuable commodity, and one that increases in value the older we get. With that said, I've noticed a bit of a dichotomy between the complaint about not having enough time to consume the media we like, and the way we actually spend our time. To be blunt, I'm starting to feel as though we are outsourcing our precious gaming time. In this video, I want to examine why I don't think not having enough time is the modern gamer's issue, how to actually get some gaming done in the information age, and why the outsourcing of our gaming experiences to social media is endemic of a broader societal theme in media consumption. I want to tackle the idea of not having enough time to game first and foremost, as it seems to me that we have all the time in the world to consume the plethora of social media content pertaining to the games we want to play. Many gamers are watching hours-long retrospectives on everything from games they want to play, games they've already played, and even games they never in their life intend on playing. And doing all of this at the cost of actually sitting down and gaming themselves. Hell, I live stream, and I create content on YouTube. I effectively provide said entertainment I'm talking about here, so I kind of feel like I'm well suited to speak to this trend. Fundamentally, people spend countless hours on their phones, with most stats I can find citing an average of 3 to 5 hours per day, if not more. To be clear, this is not time spent being productive. We are talking about scrolling our phones for entertainment. So why are we not using this time to game? It's important to point out that there's a key difference between consuming media passively and actively. Video games are an active form of media. They require input from a player. You have to be sat there engaged in what is happening, and attending to other things is difficult to say the least. You try to have a conversation about the bleakness of existence and the absurdity of the cosmos while playing Dark Souls, and you let me know how that goes.
Foolish ambitions to rest.
Scrolling and being on social media, on the other hand, is passive and incredibly easy to put down and pick back up again as, say, your baby demands attention, or the rice starts burning on the stove because you've been playing the video louder than the timer alarm. Ask me how I know. All this to say, time investment doesn't seem to be the issue for me. Cut into your scrolling time just a little, and you have more than enough time to get some gaming done amidst the busyness of everyday life. If any of what I just said represents a pattern you can relate to, then understanding the mechanism that promotes what I just talked about is incredibly helpful in trading your phone for a controller and finally getting some gaming in. I studied psychology for 8 years during my university days, and there's a concept I encountered during my studies that I think explains this to an extent. It's called limbic friction. In layman's terms, limbic friction refers to the sensation of psychological resistance experienced when a task is perceived as difficult, inconvenient, or negatively connotated. This is deeply ingrained in our physiology as our brains developed with a specific purpose: to keep the body alive and well, and as such, the brain is a comfort-seeking machine. So, instead of doing the harder thing, we soothe with something that feels good. To apply this concept to gaming, I will use an example we've all faced: choice paralysis when facing the dreaded Steam library. It literally feels insurmountable at times, doesn't it? You sit there staring at your game library, unsure of what to play in that precious hour or two you have until finally, you go back to your phone. Our phones have become a soothing place of comfort, always ready for you when you need it to stave off pesky boredom. For example, watching a video on why you should play Diablo 1 instead of actually playing it gives you the sensation of experiencing the content of the game in a roundabout way. You're effectively soothing your disquiet about not playing the game, and perhaps even generating a feeling that you're getting more value from spending your time in this way because the video you're watching provides a perspective that you hadn't considered about the game. Another example is watching a lore video that is curated and free of any sort of dead air. That is infinitely more interesting than sitting at your gaming station and idly reading or listening to lore and being forced to draw your own conclusions. I'm one who believes if you notice a problem, you should think of a solution if you ever bring it up. Otherwise, you're kind of just complaining. Unfortunately, when it comes to limbic friction, it's one of those cases where the only way out is through. It's not necessarily easy, but it is incredibly simple to wrap your head around. Overcoming limbic friction comes in 2 stages. Number 1, making a conscious decision to avoid the soothing activity. And number 2, commit to a small dose of that thing that you're struggling to do. In practice, it would look like this. Your reason not to game is, I only have an hour to game. I can barely pick what to play. And everything I like takes hours to get into. So, your solution to the friction would be, I'm going to pick a random game. I will play that game for 10 minutes. And if I'm not feeling it after that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to move on to something else. You'll notice that the reasons against are all emotional and use absolutist language, only having an hour and absolutely needing hours to enjoy the experience. And the solutions, in contrast, are oriented in taking your emotions out of the equation and bringing the numbers conversation down to a level that doesn't seem quite so extreme. Doing this even a couple of times overcomes that choice paralysis and shows the mind that the perception of difficulty in choice was just that, a perception. As you do this more and more, for whatever you're struggling with, new neural pathways will develop and make that choice or task easier and easier going forward. Now we get to the crux of the video as far as I'm concerned. Normally, when the concept of limbic friction is applied, it's for things like getting into fitness and other kinds of self-betterment. Things that actually matter, if you will. So why do I care about this when it comes to gaming? The fact of the matter is, I don't. Well, not directly. Gaming is merely the lens through which I and a lot of people see a lot of the world. No, I think the theme I've outlined within the world of gaming is endemic of a broader issue I am seeing within the consumption of all media: the outsourcing of first-hand experience. This is a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. Viewing thoughtfully made content and using it as your jumping off point for a conversation and the development of your opinions, that's one thing. But if all the opinions you have as a person are from things you have experientially outsourced, then you're not speaking from a genuine place of knowing, but from a perception created by consuming content. I see so many entrenched arguments online about games where the only party that consumed the media is the video's author. A given audience's favorite content creator just told them what their experience was, and instead of the audience member consuming the media for themselves, they took that creator's opinion and used it as an excuse to omit the experience entirely. In my mind, doing this is tantamount to preaching from atop a castle of glass. One stone being thrown your way crumbles everything down to the ground because you haven't actually considered why you have the opinion you do, because the experience was outsourced. You haven't actually played the game. This video is not to rag on gamers or social media. Social media and the distractions it brings are not going anywhere. What I wanted to do here is provide some context on our behaviors as human beings and as content creators and consumers of content in today's world, and how perhaps we can better navigate the uncharted waters of the internet. As I said, I think videos like this one are a great jumping-off point for engaged and profound conversation about the media or concepts involved. But that conversation requires parties to be engaged in the subject matter in question, so that all arguments can be done in good faith. The world is a better place when we all come together and share our experiences and have introspective conversations about how these things have changed us as people. It's one of the reasons I started creating content. I wanted to share my experiences with others and build great connections and a community. I bid you try to do the same. Hello friends, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on the next one.